Hi everyone, welcome to javaguides Stream.map series. This is the fourth part of this series, and in this part I'm going to show you how to use map and collect method with an example. So map method is used to transform one object into another object by applying a function, and we use collect method of a stream class to accumulate elements of any stream into collection. For example, you can use collect method to convert a stream into list, set or map. Alright. In this example, I am going to cover this use case. I am going to map a user object into user detail object using Stream.map method. Alright. In typical web applications or REST API projects, we create JPA entities, right? And we map that JPA entities directly to the relational database tables. Consider user is a JPA entity, and we fetch records from the database and we store it into a user JPA entity, and we convert this user JPA entity into user DTO object, and we send this object back to the client. And I am going to use Stream.map method to map user object into user DTO object. So this is the example I am going to cover here right now. So let me switch to the Eclipse IDE and let us see how to use Stream.map method. And I also use collect method to collect the output into a separate list. Let us see how to do that. Let me switch to the Eclipse IDE and let us start creating example. So here I am going to create a class, and I am going to name it as Stream map collect example. Alright, and here I am going to quickly create a main method, and here what I will do, I will create a user class. Okay, and here I will quickly create a fields ID, string, username, alright, private, string password, and private string email. Alright, now let's go ahead and let's quickly create a getter, setters, and parameterized constructor. Right click, source, generate constructors, select all and generate. Now let's go and let's also create a toString method. Great. Alright, consider this is our domain entity class or JP entity class. Now let's go ahead and let's create a user DTO class. Let's create a class, name it as user DTO, and consider when we map or when we convert user object into user DTO object, we don't want to send a password to the client. For that we will map all the fields except password. Alright, because we don't want to send a password to the client, right? So that is the use case I am going to cover here. So I am going to just copy all the fields, and we don't want to send password to the client, so I am going to remove this password field here. Great, and let's go ahead and let's remove this password, getter setters, and from the toString method like this. Okay, great. Now we have a user and user DTO class in place. Now let's go ahead and let's create a list of user objects. User equal new, we are going to use array list implementation of list interface here. Alright, users dot add new user, and here I am going to add a few user quickly. Now we have a user list with 3 users. Now what we'll do, we'll map each user object into user DTO object using Stream.map method. So let us see how to do it. In traditional way, how we were doing is we are using a for each method, and we are just iterating over a list of user objects, and we just convert user object into user DTO object. Let me quickly show you how to do it. Here user, and this is users. Now let me create one more list to store user DTO object. I am going to call it as user DTO, and this is user DTO, users DTO. Alright, and here what we'll do, DTO equal to new user DTO, and here what we need to do is you just call getters here, get ID, user dot get name, and here user dot get email. That's it. And here we just add to the list. We don't want to declare user DTO object here. Like this. Okay, so this is how we do in a traditional way. We use for loop to iterate over a list of objects, and we just convert like this, and we store in a separate list here, and we use another for loop to just display this list like this, user DTO, users DTO, and here just put a sysout DTO like this, and just run the program. Here is the output. Okay, now let us use Stream API to map user object into user DTO object. So I am going to just write here comment like using Stream.map method. Okay, it's pretty simple. What we need to do is we need to just get a collection, and we need to convert collection, that is list into stream, and then on top of stream we need to call a map method here. So look at here, map method accepts functional interface. Alright, and if you go into the internal implementation of map, this map requires a function interface as method argument. So function interface is a functional interface, and it has only one abstract method, that is apply, and it accepts a single method argument, and it will return object. Okay, the apply method can return the same object or a different object. It's pretty simple, right? Now what we'll do, we'll use this function interface here. First use anonymous implementation of functional interface. Now we want input as user, and we want to return user DTO object, right? Great. This function provides apply method, so let's go ahead and let's override apply method here. And here what we need to do is we need to convert like this, user DTO, and let's use a constructor, user dot get ID. Let's change the reference, user dot get ID, and here user dot get name, user dot get email. Alright, so look at here, this is how we basically use a map. So map is not like a hash map or map interface, it's just a method of Stream API. Alright, this is just a method. Okay, this is not a like hash map or other interface. Now this is the functional interface, and this is the anonymous implementation of functional interface. Now we can use a lambda expression to implement this function interface. So let us see how to do it. As we know that a lambda expression don't have name, so let's go and let's remove this part. And here we are going to use arrow. This is the syntax of lambda expression, and this has a single statement, so let's go ahead and let's remove this curly braces. And we also no need to return here because it is a single statement. And here we are going to remove this part. Alright, and let's close this. That's it. It's pretty simple, right? This is the lambda expression. Alright, now what we'll do, we'll use a for each method to print object to the console. So here I am going to use again a lambda expression, user DTO. Alright, and here I will use open curly braces, sys out, user DTO. It's pretty simple, right? Now let's go and let's run the program. Here is the output. Okay, so this is how we use Stream API to map one object into another object. It's pretty simple, right? Now what we can do is, instead of for each, we can use here collect method. Okay, if we want to store the result into a list, like here I want to store this user DTO objects into another list like this. So what I need to do is, I want to use collect method here, and here inside that I will use collectors, and this will provide a to list method. So this will convert stream into list like this, and the result will be stored in a list of user DTO objects. Now I can send this DTO list object to the client. Alright, and here what I can do, I can again use for each method on a list, and here what I will do, I will provide sys out like this, system dot out println like this. This will print a user DTO object to the console. It's pretty simple. Let's look at here the result. Alright, it's pretty simple, right? So this is how we can use a Stream.map method to map one object into another object, and it's very useful in in this case. And this is the real world scenario we typically use in Java projects or REST API applications. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial.